Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is February 12th, 2024. A little bit to talk about with our space weather. Very interesting stuff over the past 24 hours. I wanted to share the 211 angstrom because I think it definitely helps us see the kind of flare activity that we're looking at, all the plasma loops here. But for the most part, again, in the previous broadcast, I've talked about, pardon me, X-class flares and their strengths and how we can look at where we are in the maximum cycle of things. And we had a couple of X-class flares before this one, 1 point something, 2 point something, and maybe that was going to be it, what I thought. But today, or yesterday's 3.3 X-class flare is another indicator that the maximum is still, in fact, happening as we know it. When we start seeing X flares die down and they don't reach the peak anymore, they don't go past the strength that we saw as far as the peak, that's how we know the cycle is starting to wind down. Now, it is not out of the question, of course, by this time next year that we could be talking about a rapid decline in sunspot activity, and we start our minimum in early 2025 or late 2024. But right now, sunspot number is at 105. Even after that big, powerful X-class flare, there's still a 25% chance today of another X-class flare. Solar wind speeds coming in at 364.2 kilometers per second with a density of 7.92. KP indices only at 1.67 currently. Over the past 24 hours as high as 3, but that's going to change. And I'll show you why here in a second. Let's go to the grandsolarminimum.com and check out our last code. Look at this, guys. These explosions here. And notice all the particles that follow these giant CME releases. So here's the 7th. And now we are at the 8th. Now we are moving into the 9th, which is the day of the big CME and the X-class flare. Here we go. There it was. And then watch it. All of those white snow-looking like objects. That's the highly charged particles that are being flung out into our solar system. So that was quite an increase of highly charged particles. Now, good news is that we're in a maximum and our magnetic field is slightly stronger. I say slightly because it was already weak to begin with. So on an X-class flare like this, that is going to help for us with the strength of the magnetosphere right now. Again, it's not that strong to begin with, as we've seen it weaken over the past several solar cycles. But I will say, had this happened during a minimum part of our cycle, this would have been interesting. But again, the sun's not strong enough to put off these X-class flares during minimum cycles like this, so it kind of goes hand in hand. So nothing major from this particular explosion, but we are still waiting on the impact of this, as this was yesterday. And usually the quickest we see any kind of impact we could see something as early as tomorrow as far as impact from this particular X-class flare. But it wasn't Earth facing. It was in the very southwest corner of the sun, and it was going away from Earth facing. So this was not a Earth facing X-class flare. And that's the good news too. That's the other part of the good news. Let's take a look at, I wanted to show you guys this because we talked about this a long time ago on this channel when we first started up back in the day. And what this is our current, if you're looking at the solar system, where all the planets are. Now, we've talked about how whatever side has the most planets, the Earth, the sun, and the planets have a stronger connection. versus right now where Earth is, we are on the weak side. The sun is the only thing connecting just Earth. So this means a weaker magnetosphere. So the fact that this solar flare, this X-class flare, happened right about in here, okay? And it's going to affect the area of where there are more planets on this side of the sun. Connection stronger, very strong, in fact. So the good news about that is that with a strong connection magnetically, the magnetospheres also would be a little bit stronger to absorb these kind of X-class flares on the side of the sun. However, thankfully, this was not Earth-facing. We are probably very vulnerable to receive an X-class solar flare. Nothing grid taking down or nothing like that, but it could create some problems with radio contact and other GPS or even possibly satellite damage. But I also want you to look at this, guys. We are in the year 2024, and since we started this channel back in 2017, we talked about an event that is related to the Milankovitch cycle. And right now, if you can look, and we see the four gas giants, the alignment is beginning, okay? By October, Earth will be right here in the middle of the four gas giants, all right? These planets over here would already have made their way around. They're going to be over here by October, okay? So it's just going to be Earth and the four gas giants. And part of what I want to watch and what I want everyone to pay attention to is the tug that these four gas giants are going to have on Earth's orbit. Now, I'm not talking tremendous and, pulling us out like by a bunch. It doesn't take much. As you guys know, TSI, total solar radiance, whether it goes up or down, the slightest of the amount of either way, up or down, is impactful. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of a fall and winter we are watching for this year coming up. I know in parts of actually everywhere in the United States is seeing above average temperatures for this winter, but we'll get more into that here into the program. But there is a correlation in this, folks, and it's all about cycles. And I believe that if we see an El or a La Nina pattern again in summer into fall, alongside with the Earth in the pattern of with the four gas giants with the Milankovitch cycle tug, it'll be interesting to see the lower TSI, and that also could be a time where solar activity will begin to decrease as well. So lots of interesting stuff here to watch here in 2024. We have a total solar eclipse coming to a part of New York where it's not going to be for us, but April 8th, it might be worth the trip to make to get that live on air, because it's going to be a total solar eclipse. It's going to be a little bit further west of us, but very exciting stuff happening in 2024. So lots to watch after here. But let's go back to our, we'll get more about that here in a little bit, but let's go back to our solar flare that we had just the other day. One more look at it here. Again, good news is that this was not Earth directed. Okay, that's the good news. This was not Earth directed. Two, the other good news is that where this is going to actually impact has nothing to do with us, thankfully, because we are in the vulnerable part of the solar system right now. So interesting stuff out there. Good to see everybody out there in the chat. Long time no see out there. Melody, good to see you. And Telio, St. Louis Arch, haven't seen that name in quite some time. Lots of new faces in there as well. Hopefully some of our old faces will be in there in a little bit. There's Matthew. Good to see you, sir, as well. But yeah, we wanted to start doing more broadcasts weekly. I know we said this a few months ago. I believe September was the last time we did a live broadcast, and it's just been, just things are crazy. But we are in a position now where there's going to be a little bit more wind down time, free time for us to follow what we have a passion for, and that is following this cycle and just really educating the public about the the how time consuming that this topic can be as far as research goes. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a flip a switch. It's a gradual thing, and there's a lot of correlation here. And so, for instance, this X flare that was not Earth facing, still, you can call it a coincidence. I say it's linked. A 5.7 earthquake hit the southeastern flank of Mauna Loa volcano in Hawaii. Sure, I butchered the heck out of that, but hey, it wouldn't be Grand Solar Minimum Show without me butchering other volcano names. This had no damage, no injuries reported. Um, Again, seismic activity immediately following after this X flare that was non-Earth facing. But the good news was not dangerous. It was not damaging. We had no fatalities. We did feel some aftershocks, but this is also related to Kilauea as well. This particular earthquake. That's what the scientists believe, anywho. But that's my connect the dots moment there with the flare and the 5.7 earthquake. Again, nothing crazy, but is connected to Kilauea, which is a usually active volcano that does erupt quite a lot. And we've seen bigger eruptions, especially during the solar minimum. Right now, we are talking about solar activity with sunspot numbers of 105. So we are active, and we still got a 5.7 earthquake. So imagine if we were talking about less sunspots activity, how much more impactful would this X-class flare would have been, just because if we have lower solar activity, we have a weaker magnetosphere, we have the ability of highly charged particles impacting our atmosphere into our core. So again, the good news about all these impressive phenomena right now is that during the maximum part of the cycle, this is the stronger part of our magnetosphere. But again, it is not at the full strength that we've seen it in the past, and Zarkova's work has showed us that as well. Let's move on here to this snowstorm that we have coming up, Valentine's Day, and it is just around the corner. But the interesting part about this snowstorm is, in the beginning, we were talking about this possibly impacting where Mari and I are actually. So I still say this is a storm that we're going to watch, but right now it looks like a coastal storm that's going to hit just south of us. AccuWeather has the majority of that snow in the Albany area, so Massachusetts, parts of Connecticut, Vermont, and New Hampshire. And then we've got a bit of a rain and snow mix. This is Monday night moving into Tuesday, and then it all turns into snow. But that doesn't mean this is going to be a heavy snow event for everybody. Mainly right now we're focused in on right in here to be where we could see the most snow, and I'll show you here in the snow forecast maps here. This is where they think the heaviest of the snow is going to be. Let's zoom in on this a little bit. I know some of you watch on your cell phone, so right now, as it sits, this is what AccuWeather thinks. Now, I'm a fan of AccuWeather. Their forecasts are pretty accurate for the most part. But there has been signals of this storm with the potential of it shifting. It just depends on how fast this cooler air gets here on Tuesday. So right now, we are on Saturday. We're a few days out. This is where it looks like we're going to get the worst of it. Out there in Scranton, south of Albany, Philadelphia, you're just going to get a light 1 to 3. New York City, once thought maybe a lot. Now we're talking maybe nothing at all, if not a trace. Possibly some moderate snowfall in the Berkshires, but other than that, this is not the one that I would watch, and I'll show you why here just in a minute as we go to our tropical tidbits. But quickly, before I do that, I wanted to bring your attention to the Dr. Roy Spencer. And I'm going to move this because for some reason this just never lines up, but my apologies. So the temperatures for January is at a 0.86. And this is also interesting to me too. And this is kind of, in my opinion, this is reflecting solar maximum. Okay. Now, I know you're saying, well, why didn't we see that in 2014? Solar maximum. Well, we kind of did. Look at where we were coming out of 2011. Look at the increase of temperatures to 2014. Now, this is a little drastic, several factors, but mostly we are in a maximum, more solar activity, also in a very moderate to strong El Nino right now, currently. And that's been going on for the past several months. So this recent spike in temperatures, where we saw things go up above 0.93 above baseline, and we're all like, oh, wow, it's warming again. And yes, obviously we're having some kind of spike in temperatures, but think about it this way too. And I remember Joe Bastardi years ago, probably around this time right here, he was talking about temperature trend showing that it's going to keep plateauing and rising slowly. Now, these times of lower temperatures right here are during the times of minimum conditions. We had a rise in temperature heading into the cycle 25, and yes, we had a drop as well during 21-22. However, we were in 3 consecutive La Niñas as well, which are known to bring cooler conditions. So the maximum was just getting started right here. It wasn't even heated up yet. And now that we are in a maximum, we'll now look where the temperature spikes are. Again, look at 2015, 2016. That was the maximum as well. That was the beginning, right at the beginning of the minimum right here. So that peaked out temperature-wise. The minimum really didn't get going until 16, 17. And you can see how fast temperatures were on the decline once we started seeing lower solar activity. So the question is, yes, we are acknowledging the increase, but are we about to see that drop? That's expected because of people like Zarkova, who have predicted early minimum and the maximum to be wrapped up somewhere or winding down somewhere before early 2025. And to me, I haven't had enough experience to be able to make these valid forecasts, but it'll be interesting to see when we get to October and we start to see temperatures slowly come down, and we also begin to see this particular orbit pattern building up to where Earth will be right there, smack dab in the middle, where temperatures will go from there. And also, in a brief discussion, will that help soften the blow of the beginning of these colder climates because of how high we are now with temperatures? So there is, to me, a benefit and obviously a con as well. But with warmer temperatures now, and if we're doing another plateau like Bastardi had predicted, and possibly seeing temperatures drop near baseline once we start the minimum of this cycle, that the good news is that we are going to be able to possibly keep some of that warmth for this upcoming crop season. And then by October and winter of next year, I do expect to see much colder conditions, considering just the physics of what's happening, what's taking place in October of 2024. It's going to be something that it's something we talked about on this channel when we started in 2017, an event to look forward to. At first, the calculations were saying January. Now that's been pushed to October. But so interesting times ahead. Strong X-class flare does indicate we are still in the maximum, but I wanted to point out the correlation. I mean, look at the weak snow amounts we've had this year. The warmer temperatures, the weak snow amounts, and we're in a maximum. And I was going through the archives of our YouTube channel and all the videos that we used to do 4 or 5 years ago when we were in a minimum. We were talking about cold records and snow events and earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. And since we've been, and I'm not talking minor ones, I'm talking strong volcano eruption. Remember the Russian volcano at 70,000 feet, several 50,000 feet ash plumes from several volcanoes throughout those 4 years of that minimum. And now that we're in a maximum, we don't see 50,000 foot ash plume explosions. Very rare. Again, to me, that's very strong evidence that there is a correlation between solar activity and seismic activity. And we can sit here and go on and on about how seismic activity, volcanic activity also can contribute to climate as well. So, talking about climate, let's talk about some forecasts. Again, snow has been weak this year. We're in a El Nino, right? But let's take a look at what is in store for the United States. Some storms and showers moving through this weekend across the southeast, Texas. You get that system. That's the storm that we're watching right down here. Okay, this is the storm that's going to be impacting the northeast on Monday night, Tuesday to Wednesday. Now, again, we're still a few days out. There's still a few things that can take place. The cool air is in place right now on Tuesday, February 13th. According to the GFS, it does get strong to heavy snowfall in southern New York, and it does look like it will stay Albany and south. But at that close right now, there is a chance that this storm could shift further south. And if it does, then we're talking about New York City getting accumulating snow. Boston getting accumulating snow, which we see here in the models. But that won't start till late because this cooler air does not arrive fast enough to make this a long-lasting event to have a huge accumulation. But this is still something to watch, and that is for Valentine's Day next week. The cooler air stays in place. A little Alberta clipper coming across New York the 16th. So once we get past Valentine's Day into the 16th, there's another storm that we are now focusing on as well, and that is going to be this system coming up. And this could be a very impactful storm for the Northeast. So let's check out the track of this one. Now, usually I don't care about forecasts that are past 6-7 days, but this is a very strong system, and it's shown signals that this could be a monster coastal storm. Right now, it's not showing anything impressive, but there have been other models that are showing this thing to be pretty impressive. And there is reinforced cold air coming in behind that system. After that, another system by the 21st of February, this one could also bring impactful snowfalls. Going past the 21st, we definitely see a flip in the weather patterns here. More cold air coming into the northern plains, into the central part of the United States by the end of the month. The Northeast is going to be back and forth with these potential nor'easter storms. But look at these systems that are coming the way here. I mean, let's also be thankful that it isn't cold, because honestly, that would be a mess of snow coming our way. If it was cold enough for a snowstorm, that would be an absolute mess. And, I say we deserve a break from all this heavy snow that we've had, especially up here in the Northeast. But again, the end of the month, February 25th, look at the difference here between the East Coast and the West Coast. We have a rain-snow mix with lots of rain in the south part of the Northeast, and then we have much, much colder air coming in, swirling in from Canada, bringing snow. So there you can visibly see the wavy jet stream, which is causing all this craziness, weather chaos. And the weather definitely does not know what it wants to do at this time. But look at this. We got a ridge and fridge forming here at the end of February. What's a rigid fridge? Well, this is where temperatures will warm up. It'll bring warm air from the Gulf. As these storm systems comes across, it'll be a rapid changeover. With this storm system, it'll start as rain and then go to snow. Typical rigid fridge. But you can clearly see much colder air coming into the south, in fact, or the west coast. Let's get into the temperatures, actually. Yeah. We see that cold air in Canada flirting with coming down here in the northeast. There it is. All right, here we are. The cold air is in place for that Valentine's Day storm. Spring-like temperatures trying to make an impact, but again, more Arctic air pushing its way in to the United States. And by the end of the month, we see some very frigid air trying to make its way into the most of the country. That groundhog could be a little off. Right now, it's still winter, but look at that temperature difference. I'm going to actually go back over here and stop it at the end of the month, because I was showing you as well on the end of the run with the precipitation about what kind of temperatures we will see. Hang on a second. I was saying the West Coast is going to see a huge pattern flip. Look at that. So there's the rigid fridge that I was talking about. The classic rigid fridge. So as this cold air circles in, pushes this warmer temperatures out. Now, folks, it's possible that the Northeast, especially closer to the East Coast, could see some warmer temperatures coming in by March. Another April Fool's joke. So spring could be around the corner, but if you ask me, and I will show you the regional outlook here of what we're looking at in the northern hemisphere with how much cold air we do have right now currently in the Arctic. We are in abundance. This is at the end of the month in February. So it really depends on what kind of pattern shifts we see, but I wouldn't count on an early spring just yet with this much Arctic air in the region. But again, these forecasts are just an idea of what's to come. I don't really bank on some of this stuff past 6 days out, but it's interesting to take a look into what see is coming our way over the next month. And winter still seems like it's a very, very good possibility for the majority part of the northern part of the United States, the Ohio Valley into the Northeast, and of course the West Coast and central part Colorado Rockies also looks like they are going to get back in on the action. Why are we seeing such a warmer winter and lack of snow? El Nino is still strong, 1.199 above baseline. Again, anything above 0.5 is considered El Nino conditions. This one right here is a moderate to strong El Nino. We've seen temperatures as high as over 1.5, which is considered very strong. So we're keeping our eyes on if this is going to decline or is it going to climb back up. And like I said, it's going to be interesting next fall if this turns into the La Nina phase with the orbital alignment that we're going to have in October. It'll be interesting to see what kind of temperatures that we're going to see next winter heading into also lower solar activity. Reading through the chat, late winter, very possible, J-Dog. Very possible. Hello, Sue Hayes. Just kind of scanning the chat, see if there's any questions so far. But no, it is very possible of a late winter. It is definitely trying. I will say that. There is a push for it. Total snowfall by the end of the month. Well, let's just take a look. That first snowstorm, again, they're focusing on this area right here. And it looks like the worst of it's going to be south of us. So that's good news. But that's what we're going to see from the Valentine's Day storm. Miami Valley, Dayton, parts of Middletown, Troy, Lima, Springfield, New Carlisle, Greenville, all you folks out there in southwest Ohio that don't usually get snow, you're about to get a treat. Looking like 6 to 10 inches could be your way. Again, the track of this storm is what it is right now, and it could shift either north or south. And then here's that next storm that's coming right after the Valentine's Day storm on the 20th. Adding to the totals in southern New York, northeastern parts of Pennsylvania, and the Miami Valley, southern Indiana as well, and then another system by the end of February that will continue to add more snow totals in New York near the Adirondacks. But really, this is weak snowfall for this time of year in the Northeast. So we do have some winter weather on the way. We do have freezing temperatures still. Regardless of what that groundhog said, we still have a few things to sort out before we get out of the clear. Again, solar activity has been impressive. The sunspot that we're watching right now that's possibly going to produce another X-class flare is 3576. That thing is gargantuan. And the fact that it's now Earth facing directly at Earth right now. We are on the weaker side of the sun, so this is part of the reason why NOAA scientists are saying we need to kind of pay attention to this one today. For a 25% chance of an X-class flare Earth facing directly, something to watch today. So, like I showed you in the orbital pattern, we are on the weak side of the sun. We have lesser strength in the connection from the sun's magnetic connection to Earth. It's focused on the other side at this time. So, be interesting stuff to take a look at as we go down the road. Birthdays, we are going in lean into the summer. Yes, I believe that too, Antilio. I wouldn't be surprised if that moisture is higher than that, ancient, but still here. I heard it was somewhere in the mid-20s, but I'll take 14%. That's still a lot. Yeah, sorry about the dogs barking. I know a lot of you listen to this podcast through your AirPods or your whatever Samsung has, and then you hear the dogs barking and it hurts your ears. Or the funny comment I always get is that people are listening to their soundbar, our podcast, and our dogs start barking and their pets go nuts too. So much apologies there on that. But no, just wanted to do a quick update. Mari has a couple of things in the pipeline for production for videos, but we wanted to come on this Saturday afternoon. Time is finally starting to wind to where we can take a little bit of time each week and to produce a live broadcast. I know I said that back in September, but a lot has changed for the good, and that means that we get to do this, what we do, what we love to do, which is report and follow this. So we started this 7-8 years ago. It's amazing that, with as much lack of activity as that we've had on this channel, the amount of people that still follow us. And I can't thank you guys for your support. I mean, believe it or not, we still get donations on Patreon still. I just tested it today. The super chats are working again, and it's kind of reminiscent of when that kind of help comes into the channel. It's easier to do more broadcasts. Things are covered, and it's always appreciated. But guys, again, we will try to do at least one a week live broadcast, but I know Mari has some exciting things lined up in the future, and we will just go from there and take it day by day and report on what is necessary to report on when it comes to these solar cycle events that we are watching right now. So with that said, looking in the chat, see if there's any questions before I head out. I don't see any. Someone shared a birthday on the 22nd of January. That's my birthday as well. All right, I think that's going to do it for today's show. Again, thank you for tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. If you'd like to support the channel, go to our Teespring store. It is in the description of the video. Click on there. You'll find all kinds of good things, hoodies, t-shirts, coffee mugs, you name it, stickers. We've got it all on our Teespring store. Please consider that as a form of support for our channel. Other than that, thank you for tuning in, and we will talk again soon. Take care, everyone.